Edessa School of Fashion. I shudder when I think about it because it is huge and it's a major undertaking and it scares me to death.
It is like huge, and I'm honored to know you.
Oh,
I really am because, for one, you're not from Milwaukee.
No, I'm from Nashville.
Let it be known.
Yeah, I'm from Nashville, where you went to college.
Where I went to college, TSU.
And you had a really good time.
I had a really good time. A really, really, really good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you are from Nashville. I love Nashville.
I love Nashville. A lot of people think it's all about country music, but now that you've been there 4 years, you know it's not.
Yeah.
Nashville has 3 historic black colleges, probably within a mile and a half of each other. So we had a really good time because it was just hundreds and hundreds and thousands of professional blacks and students and, you know, the academic scene and the party scene and the youth and the art, and so it had a lot. And then there's Nashville, because that's Ed Merritt, D.B. Todd Avenue, 18th and 28th, and so, you know, there was a lot. Fisk University, Meharry.
It's very much culture than Milwaukee.
Oh yeah. You had Meharry, Fisk, and Tennessee State all almost walking distance from each other. So there was a vibe there about black excellence that I think the Midwest and the North ever so slightly misses.
Yeah.
So
I would agree. We definitely do. And that's why I'm excited about what you're getting ready to launch.
Well, you know, that may have been part of the inspiration.
Yeah.
The fact that I grew up in a town that did have 3 historic black colleges. Now, we Edessa School of Fashion, which we're hoping to launch in January of 2020. If not January, it'd be September 2019. I mean, we're moving aggressively towards this goal. And the historic black college, that ship has sailed. You can't have a historic black college anymore. And frankly, I want to not have a black college. I want to have an inclusive college where everyone is considered, actively recruited, and becomes a participant in the academic scene at the school. So that's been our mission from day one. Probably our motivation too. So
to make it more inclusive.
Yes.
And that's interesting. You said that from being around all of that black excellence.
Yeah.
That you would say, you know, I want it to be more inclusive, and especially because you're in the arena of fashion.
Yes, the fashion thing. I had a grandmother named Edessa, my mother Sheila, and my best friend's mother, Sarita Coopwood.
Okay.
These 3 women taught me to sew at a very young age. Now, at a very young age, I was 5'11". 5'10".
Really?
Yeah, so there was no going to JCPenney's and buying school clothes. It just didn't work. So I was able to start making my own clothes, making pants, whatever. And a lot of people say I was making my own stuff, but these 3 women weren't happy with you made a pair of pants. Because if you could look at them and tell they were made, that didn't work for them. That was substandard. So they pushed a professional product, and so I kept sewing and sewing and sewing. And when I went to undergrad, I was interested in interior design, and I fell in love with the textile courses. And I found that I excelled really well and almost effortlessly at the textile courses because I'd been dealing with fabric for so long. And so
has it been like around since age 10?
I probably started playing around with fabric and clothing around age 7.
Really?
Yeah, and I didn't think I'd be a designer because in Nashville that was not at the time something that was prevalent in our world. Designers, you bought designer stuff, you didn't create it. And I think I was very intimidated. The only design school I knew about as a child was FIT, and it just scared me to death. So I never even aspired to go there. And I was accustomed also of being in this arena with all these Vanderbilt, Lipscomb, Belmont, Tennessee State, Fisk, Meharry. I was accustomed to those type of schools, other than Meharry, major liberal arts schools, and then you go to grad school afterwards. So I did exactly that. I did what my parents had done.
Follow the path.
Yeah, the path is liberal arts, BS, BA, then you go get a master's in something, then you go finalize it with a PhD. So that was my family history. So I started with undergrad in interior design, which my father thought was hilarious. My father's a physician. He thought that was a joke. So when I finished that, he met at my graduation the only PhD, the first guy to get a PhD in interior design. He was world famous. I ended up teaching at University of Delaware with this guy. I was an assistant professor. He was a visiting fellow, and he goes walking down the hall. He's like, Lynne Dixon, what?
Really?
You know, so yeah.
So at that time,
Yeah.
how old were you when you started at University of Delaware?
I started teaching college at 27.
27.
Yeah.
And you were there for 7 years.
7 years, yes.
Wow.
I left there when my husband got a position with Ford Motor Company in Chicago, and I had to make a decision to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ford Motor Company in Chicago, then we moved to Milwaukee for Tower Automotive.
So how was that? Because back then, like, so right now we live in a very independent driven society, especially with women.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to make that decision. Was that easy? Was it?
No, it's very easy because you've
Okay.
married a man, you've had 2 children, you have a family.
Yeah.
So there's a point where choices have to be made where one person is going to go far and the other person is going to follow. My husband had been very supportive of my career up until that point. It was time to very strongly support his.
Mm-hmm.
So it was opportunities come, you weigh them.
Mm-hmm.
And there were times when weighing them towards what I was doing was what we chose to do, and this was one of the times we weighed it towards what he was doing. So it's what, you know.
Talk about a beautiful sacrifice.
Yeah, and it's not a sacrifice. It's part of being a family.
Part of being a family,
I had 2 sons. They need to be with their father. I need to be with their father. So we moved, and you know, moving's not permanent. You can move again,
Right.
And you can move again. So.
And so you've lived in Nashville, Delaware.
Well, I never lived in Delaware. I lived in Columbia, Maryland.
Columbia, Maryland.
So Columbia,
Okay.
Maryland is directly between Baltimore, Maryland, and Washington, D.C.
Okay, so just like in the DMV area.
Right. And so I was becoming a designer at the time, and I was doing swimwear design. Thank you for wearing the swimsuit I made. Yeah. So so I was becoming a swimwear designer, and I became pretty well known in that corridor, the D.C. corridor, between Philly, Baltimore, and down to D.C., down through Virginia too. That's the corridor, and just, you know, when you're a professor at a university, you have to do activities to keep yourself relevant and out there. So I was presenting a lot of my work a lot.
And I love the DMV area. Like, I would definitely make DC my home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm considerate.
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah,
It was
in
amazing.
the future, I love it.
Yeah.
What are some things that you like about the DMV?
So you had, unlike here and in Chicago even, you had DC, Philly, New York, Baltimore, Arlington, Virginia, even Richmond, Virginia, you could say. So there were like all these cities clumped together within 2 to 4 hours apart.
Yeah.
And you could take a day trip and go to New York and spend the day and come home, or you could take a day trip and do something in Philly and come back. Delaware kids used to shop for fabric in Philly.
Okay.
So, you know, Baltimore was really cool. It had the harbor. There was a lot of water. It just was, and each city had its characteristics that made it so different. Yeah, it just, so you just flitted around from one to the other. You know, you could choose, oh, I want to fly to California. Where is it cheaper to go from?
Right,
DC,
so you just figure out where do you want
you know,
to go.
Baltimore or Philadelphia. And you'd go, you know, it was only a couple hour drive.
Was
I
it
loved
hard
it.
to adjust to that? Because, like, you're from Tennessee. You know how...
Oh, no, my mother had
Yeah.
lived in D.C.
Okay.
the whole time, so I had been going back and forth.
So it really wasn't nothing to you? It wasn't too fast or anything
No,
like
and
that?
I had done a little stint at Howard, so
Okay.
I loved D.C. a lot. Now, moving to Chicago was difficult because I remember telling my husband, there's only Chicago. Where else are we going to go? You know, I had gotten used to that lifestyle.
Yeah, and
then,
that's his hometown, right?
Right,
Yeah.
and then I moved to Milwaukee,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, okay, all we have is Chicago. But what was interesting, I moved to Milwaukee, in all fairness, I didn't run back and forth to Chicago like we thought we would. I got very, very used to it here and started to really, really like it. So,
So
yeah.
fast forward to today, where we're at now,
yeah,
and you work for the Art Institute.
yes,
You work for Mount Mary.
yes, and MATC.
And MATC.
Yes.
So like you just been around the block.
Yeah. It's called adjuncting, and when you adjunct, you go where the job is. I mean, you follow the opportunities, but all of those schools gave me a different perspective on what teaching should be like. So then when you've been to 4 different universities and colleges, you can determine best practices. So the 4th that I went to was Art Institute, and actually, between the four, I feel strongly that the University of Delaware was the best program of all of them. And I could, when I went to one or the other, I could go, well, you know, at Delaware, we didn't used to do this, or at MATC, we got to Art Institute. They had a prescribed curriculum that I was instructed to follow. However, I was given some leeway to affect the content of the courses. With that, I created a process where we went through I had my faculty involved because they had all taught at a lot of universities and schools as well. And we all sat together and created a best practices format, and we determined which progression should take place and going from course to course to course. I couldn't change the course names, I couldn't change the competencies, but I could change the objectives and I could change the content. So we made sure that there were no voids, nothing was being missed, and there was no overlap, duplication of efforts in classes. Because a lot of time when you adjunct, you go in and teach your course, you don't realize 3 other teachers are teaching the same content, and that's a waste of everybody's time and money. So I made sure it was streamlined. Well, I became enamored with the idea of creating curriculum, and then I eventually, at the end of the Art Institute, became the campus director and was running the campus. And then I began to realize, you know, I could run a school. I'm doing it now. And if I only chose one program and the one that I know, I could do this.
You could do it.
So we decided to create Edessa School of Fashion, named after the grandmother that taught me how to sew. And the other thing, Edessa's a really cool name. So it's working out really well.
Yeah. And I like, you know, how you know, the family name. I like it wasn't just like any old name. And like, it means something.
Right, it really means something. And what's interesting is that I'm in Milwaukee where no one ever knew Edessa Dixon, and Edessa Dixon never stepped foot. But people are knowing her now. And her name is becoming prevalent. And the thing that makes her name so interesting, this is a black woman, and at the time I wanted to say she was a black girl, that grew up in Marshall, Texas, and went to Tuskegee, Alabama, which was over 500 miles away, in 1916, and went to college, got her bachelor's degree in home economics. That's what they directed girls to, teaching home economics and nursing. Got her bachelor's degree, married her college sweetheart, who also graduated in 1920 with her, Gardner Dixon, and went to Africa.
Wow.
On a boat.
Really?
Like, who did that back then? People
Your
didn't.
grandmother?
Yeah, people didn't leave their plantations or farms or yards then. They didn't leave the city they grew up in, and she was all over the place. So she went over there for a while. She came back, and she was a home ec teacher. She taught home ec, and she, you know, she just, I was always astounded at her drive to do these things at the time she did. Now, you know, if you don't go to college, what's up with you? But back then, if you did, that's crazy.
Yeah, like the things that she was doing was pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah, at that time, for a person of her gender and race.
Right.
I mean, you think about, not only was she black, she was a girl. Not only was she a girl, she's black. And those are just 2 strikes against her in 1916. And, you know, just to think that she went to Tuskegee, had the wherewithal to go to Tuskegee and say, you know, 8th grade isn't good enough for me. I want a bachelor's degree. And to get it. So it created the opportunity for me to be 3rd generation college.
Yeah.
All of her
like
kids were in college.
The world of academia is like just really deep. Like everybody went to school.
You know,
and your family, like it's like.
Everybody. Yeah. Everybody. So it's and my husband's family as well. He's 2nd generation college. I'm 3rd. So it's like this is probably the most natural thing. And I think when we decided to do this, we were all of a sudden realizing my aunt was a PhD in nursing and was the dean of the nursing school at Chicago State. My husband's uncle was a PhD in agricultural.
So you started thinking about all.
Well, he was a president of Olive Harvey
How everything
College.
Is connecting from your roots.
My sister-in-law is the dean of the dental school at Meharry Dental School, and she's the only black female dean of a dental school in the nation ever.
Wow.
And my husband's father was an administrator at Northeastern University, Illinois University. We had so many academicians and administrators. I don't even know why we never thought of it as the family business. But actually it is. It's the family business on both sides. So there's a rich history there, and it's a matter of, you know, you're following your bloodline. would I have said, oh, I want to be a college teacher because so-and-so's one? No,
Right.
it was a natural movement.
It's like you didn't think about that. Like, I'm going to do this because of this.
No,
Your
I
life
was
kind of
doing
just guided
it.
that way.
Then I thought,
right.
wow, I have all these resources to pull from, of all, and that was just a short list of all these people in academia that are highly professional and able to advise us and give us good information going forward on how to do this.
Right.
Because let me just explain to you, in 2019, you don't know anybody else that started a college. Now, I've probably met 3 people just because we have, but they're magic to me because they started colleges from scratch, and nobody can tell you how to do it. And frankly, I challenged the president of Harvard University to tell me that he's actually written a catalog and written the policies of the school. No, he inherited the policies of the school. We started from scratch and we developed them. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm off my soapbox now. Yeah, I get excited.
Go in then.
I get excited. Yeah.
I mean, it's something to get excited about, because when I think about what you're doing, I think about representation. You know, who you are as a woman, as a black woman. You know, where you come from, the rich history of education.
Well, what's interesting is I've moved to an area where you can still say first black whatever.
Yep.
Fill in the blank.
Right.
My husband was the first black plant manager. And actually, I know him to be the only black plant manager at that modality. But I was the first black person to chair a ball for a non-black organization in the city, the ballet ball at one point. It's just, this is ridiculous. But what I can say, let's just keep it going though. We have to fill in all those blanks. So this will be the first 4-year college in the state of Wisconsin with minority leadership. Really? See, I come from Nashville, where that's normal.
Yeah, but it's a big deal.
It's a big deal here. So then in the United States of America, it will be the first fashion 4-year college. It's freestanding fashion school with minority leadership. I know. So, but I don't want to trivialize the leadership and our qualifications by saying, you know, people were not brought aboard because they're minority. The majority of my team and our team is women, so that's also a minority. Women don't even get a fair shake in academia in higher ed. I mean, yeah, it's starting to happen now, but it happens as it's allowed to happen. Well, we're not allowing it to happen. We're taking it. It's like, this is where we belong and this is what we're doing. So we made a decision to do it, and I don't have layers of bureaucracy over us. I could decide, I think I want to have a fashion show. Yep, I think I just did. It's just pretty much that simple.
Right, so you can make those decisions.
Don't get me wrong. We have leadership. We have a board
of
directors. I have to call somebody.
Right, you have to go through some rules.
I don't have to call a provost and a president. And you know, it's the experiential level that we bring to the table is not being questioned by, you know, a lot of people. It is what it is, and we are using it and being validated by it, and people are subscribing to it. So, for instance, at Art Institute of Wisconsin, we don't like to talk about Art Institute. It closed, but we know why it closed, and we know what happened, and we're able to avoid those problems knowing that they existed. So, for instance, we're not going to be for-profit. We're going to be non-profit. But one of the things I brag about is the fact that we created a team at Art Institute of Wisconsin that was so strong and the synergy was so real that they've all agreed to stay with us.
Wow.
Pretty much the entire team. And we also inherited all the property, all the furniture, the computers, the computer system, the dress forms, the sewing machines, like, everything.
It was supposed to happen.
So we just picked it up from AI and put it over at Edessa.
Right.
And then we were able to take the curriculum that we were working with and go, you know, now we can say, I think this would be better. And we were able to rewrite our story and best practice ourselves right into the best curriculum it could be. And I actually have letters from community leaders in the industry, Harley Davidson, Kohl's, Jockey, writing letters after having reviewed our curriculum saying that it is the most robust curriculum they've ever seen. And these are people with degrees in apparel design.
What are you most excited about?
I'm most excited about just getting it off the ground, I just want to go back to work.
Yeah.
I want to go back to work doing what I did best. And I gotta say, I keep talking about design, but I also have a very strong marketing team, and there would be a degree in fashion marketing, and they excite me as well. that's a strong team. I mean, the average person in the team has an MBA and has worked as a buyer or you know, as a retail manager or, you know, all these different things. And they're bringing all that experience to the table. So that's what excites me, the fact that, and I think that we had a team that was just so strong, we hate to see it broken up. And right now it's broken up. And one of my faculty members was here today at my house, helping me plant flowers. We want to be connected. We want to stay
and that's
together.
Beautiful that people trust your vision. First of all, they like you. They trust you.
We love each other.
You know, so they trust your vision enough to say, this is what you're doing, and we're gonna follow. You know, we're gonna.
Well,
and not in a way like that. But what I'm saying is,
I don't like the word follow, and I don't mean anything by it. But it's just we were a team, and we're still a team.
And you're still a team.
We refuse not to be a team, even though we don't have an assignment right now. So we're trying to create our next assignment.
When some people think of fashion, you know, in the education arena, they may think it's sweet.
Yeah, they think it's fun.
You know,
oh, that's so fun.
And it's more.
Then they come to class and found out how much math they need to know and how much of the computer they need to know. And we're drafting, and your patterns have to be perfect. And you know, I tell people, I say, this is sweet, but could you draft this pattern so you could send it to China and get 5,000 of this garment without speaking Chinese? That's what apparel design.
I mean, I just know as much just from being in your sewing room. Yikes.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Like so much.
You're only as good as your equipment. And I've always told my students, you're only as good as your equipment. You know, you have to have specialized equipment to do specialized jobs. So, you know, it's been an odyssey. It's been a trek. I am enjoying every minute of it. It's a ride that I am not unhappy that I'm taking. And we're creating something that I hope will outlast us by centuries. So I want to make it so strong that when we're gone, it's still there. And Edessa's name. Now, here's what's interesting about Edessa. She graduated college in 1920. I think we're opening in 2020. So,
really?
And that was not on
not
purpose.
Like
no, it was
planned.
not. It was so it's 100 years celebrating the graduation of Edessa, and we're having a fashion show at the Fiserv Forum in Deer Plaza, August 24th, 2019 at 9 o'clock at night. However, we're having like a fashion, festival in the park during the day. So we're going to start around 4 or 5 and have pop-up shops and designers being there, and you know, red carpets and step and repeats and all that sort of thing. And then when dusk comes, the fashion show will start, and it's free. It's community. I believe in sharing fashion. I don't believe in you paying for it. You pay to study it. You don't pay to present it. So it's an art fest, and I've got major people in Milwaukee wanting to participate, and of course we won't let them. But yeah, some good stuff.
I am so excited about it.
You better be there.
Okay, Miss Lynne.
Yeah, there you go.
Call me out. I'm definitely going to be there. I think, you know, it's a lot that we can learn. So you like
it's a lot we can learn, and so much we can do.
Yeah. So you just bringing this to the city of Milwaukee is amazing. I know you think like, you know, this is just that, but I need you to understand that this is a big deal.
Well, I'll tell you what. We have gleaned off of marketing studies and surveys, and we found that it's also a need here. There are a lot of students that are unable to go to the other schools that are available to the southeastern Wisconsin area that want to study fashion. And do we want them to leave the state? No, because there's a vibrant fashion industry here. I placed my students from the Art Institute at 97% at life-supporting, wage-earning jobs in their field after they graduated. And I was...
and that's a great percentage.
Oh, yeah, and I was lauded by the fashion industry here, saying that your graduates are very strong job candidates, and they do really well. And some of them are now, have been, you know, out and working for like 5-6 years, and they're now experienced enough to maybe even consider teaching. So,
wow. So I know that you have like this, you know, background of education. Everybody's educated in the family. But like, what are some things that you've learned from women around you and in your family that's helped you to be who you you are today to do the work that you're doing?
I tell you, and this is crazy stuff. My mother was getting her undergraduate and master's degree while she had 3 children and was trying to be a wife.
Wow.
So she told me, get all the education you want before you get married and have kids. She said, women, it's very tough on women to do that. That was some advice from my mother that I took. And again, I had my graduate degree by the time I was 21. So I got married at 22. I've been married 37 years. I did try to get my PhD while I was married and had a kid, and found out she meant what she said. Yeah. She was not playing. But you know, my grandmother let me know that don't let anybody put you in a box. People are going to suggest to you that you shouldn't be able to do this. You should fit this box. You should get married. You should have kids, and just leave the career. I mean, you're talking 1916.
Yeah.
Leave the career to the man. My grandmother had a degree and worked. I mean,
she didn't live in a box.
No, and so what she taught me was, yes, husband, kids, all that. That's awesome. I love it. But I didn't have to not do this to do that. I could do all of it. So when you talked about moving and support my husband's career, again, I had to marry a man that also supported mine.
Right.
So we were a team, and whoever could did. So when his job was taking him there, we went. When my job was pulling us there, we went. So it, you know, just was whoever was rising to the top at the time. That's who got the attention.
It's a team effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you can do everything, I would say, in moderation in intervals.
Right. Because you know, you hear that often, like, well, you know, can you have everything, or you can't have everything? That's a big argument. You know, with
you can't have everything, but you can have some of everything. And you can get a good taste of it, and then make some strong decisions.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what my family, the women in my family were amazing. I had an aunt who, when my grandmother was dying, my aunt was married to my uncle who was a dentist, and they.
Okay,
you know,
stop. A dentist?
Oh yeah,
Too much.
Well, no, Edessa raised her kids, and all 5 had not only degrees but graduate degrees.
Wow.
So they did really well, and most were in the medical field, except one.
Did they go to Vandy?
No. Oh my God, all over the place. My father went to Loma Linda. My uncle went to Meharry for dental school. They went to University of Louisville for undergrad.
They're just all over the
they're
country.
I think my uncle went to the University of Chicago for his grad school. He was a biochemist. I mean, they did a lot of things, but you know, this particular aunt married the dentist and did not get to finish college. Had 4 kids. My grandmother and my grandfather got sick. She took care of them when they were sick, one at a time, because they happened one at a time. When she was like 50, she went back and got her nursing degree.
Did she?
She really did. I mean, so it let me know, just because you didn't do it then, you can do it now. You still have a career in front of you. You still do what you want to do. You can be your best self and do things out of order.
Yeah.
If there's no right way, there's no magic way.
Or like no time. So how do you pace yourself as a young woman who's interested in the field of fashion? How do you pace yourself? Because they want to have, you know, everything. They want to get married, they want to have kids, but they also want to have this grand opportunity.
I think you have to do it in the order that's right for you. There are some people that can get married and have the kids, then go to school. There's some people that go to school, then get married and have the kids. There's some people that don't ever have the kids, and some people don't ever go to school. And there's the right combination for the right person. And so you have to gauge that for yourself. Don't let anybody dictate to you what you should do, when you should do it, you know, because then you're following their lead, not your own. And your heart is telling you what you should do. I've got one of these 2 designers I was mentioning to you. It's a man, he's 50.
Wow.
And he's just realizing how good he is.
And living his best life.
Living his best life, you know, doing something else and seeking to know more.
Yeah.
Not coming out going, I got this. I know my stuff is good. He knows his stuff is good. I've told him how good it is. But he also says, how can it be better? You know, what can I do to make it better? And that's a person who'll go far. You know, you can't start thinking you've got it. I can't think I've got it. I mean, here I am at this age trying to start something.
And looking fabulous in this swimsuit.
Thank you. But asking 50 people how to do it better.
Right.
What do you know about this that I don't know? So that's the attitude I think that allows you to excel.
In the hot tub.
That was a good idea.
So fancy.
I still feel it's a good idea.
Yes, so fancy. I love it. I love it.